Ahoy, fellow cinephiles.
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, a basking podcast exploring the lakes and starbases of Star Trek.
All of it.
I'm Hauke.
I'm Kay.
And fighting myself to the death to buy Hauke in case in time is your chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the rickety metal bridges of Star Trek to find the explosive bald head in every Bajoran and the excellence in every episode.
Even the paella.
Because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So switch your aspect ratio and join us as we've shot by Da Vinci into the Joy of Trek. Guess which one we're doing today?
We always have this discussion.
I know, but it's just so exciting. I sometimes wonder if there's people out there who deliberately just don't look at what episode's coming next and like even skip the clues at the end just so they can see if they can puzzle it out from the intro.
That's interesting. Yes, if you do so, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll make it. Like, is there a way we can like sort of timestamp or something for?
What?
No, never mind.
A timestamp? No, I'm
like an index, an index point that people can start there without like being. There's actually no spoilers.
Yeah, I was going to say,
we just have to get like a spoiler blur over our episode information, but that would really not be useful for other people either.
No, also that, I mean, technically we could, but do we really want to encourage our listeners not to listen to bits of this content that we're recording? Okay, well, welcome aboard anyway, because this time we're doing...
Crisis Point, Lower Decks Season 1, Episode 9.
Yes, originally first aired on, here we go, October 1st, 2020. Oh gosh, those were the dark ages, weren't they? Written by Ben Rodgers, directed by Bob Suarez, and recommended to us by friend of the show, Hauke, all the way from Denmark, who says...
Hi, my name is Hauke, and I'd like to recommend the episode of Lower Decks called Crisis Point. While not really an underappreciated episode of Lower Decks, I felt it needed to be talked about.
Are there any at all?
I was going to say, Hauke, right on target.
Since it's one of the first episodes of the series to really show what Lower Decks is capable of. Format-breaking ideas, lots of love letters to Star Trek movies, from the extended Cerritos flyby invoking the motion picture to the lens flares of the later Abrams films, bombastic action sequences, upping the stakes to movie level, including some improbable transporter usage. The episode doesn't shy away from critiquing Trek itself, poking at the monocultures we often see alien races portrayed as. On top of all that, it packs a big emotional punch, putting a spotlight on Marina's mental state and begins to reveal her deeper lying issues, setting up her character arc going forward.
Yeah, excellent point.
Yeah. I've seen it described as Lower Decks the movie, basically.
There was... Okay, so this episode is 1 minute longer than the regular running length.
And all of it is like zooming shots around the Cerritos.
Exactly.
I was going to say, I had that as a comment. It's like for such a short show, they spent an awful lot of credit on the...
Yeah, exactly. On the just spinning around this love letter. That was, the makers went to the studio for special permission to get an extra minute just for that.
Nah.
They had also asked to have a feature-length version of this episode released where the entire 1 minute 47 additional runtime would have been devoted to more shots of the Cerritos. It would literally last an hour and 47 minutes. That one was denied. But that sort of feels like one of those things that you ask for so that you can... So they'll sort of give you as a compromise the thing that you actually want, which is just the 1 minute.
Yes, good point. I mean, even that, especially if you have to animate all of them, I guess it should be fairly easy to do that once you get the parameter set. You just keep a different spiral pattern going around the Cerritos. And
if you want to do it, if all you want to get is just the shots, but there's a certain rhythm to it, and they interact with the music, and there's a visual grace.
But you can do that quite easily. You've got those 3D mice thingies, which you can use for camera movement.
Oh yeah.
Once you get the model and of the starbase and the Cerritos in place, you can just kind of fly around it with the camera as much as you like.
Yes, exactly. But whether those shots are any good depends entirely on planning, art inside. Those things do still take time. Hey, I was just thinking about this. This came out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And during the ramp up to the current heyday of Star Trek. I think in 2021 or 2022, there were literally 4 series running concurrently. But so this was do you remember the ramp up to that? Do you remember no, you didn't. No.
Oh, there's a news show called Discovery on, I think.
Oh my god.
And
okay.
It's yeah.
Okay, so Lower Decks, was that on your radar at all?
I knew it existed, but not particularly. No.
I remember, and I think there was a lot of people in this same camp who were like a little bit concerned about the tone that was being selected for Lower Decks. Right, because and not because there's anything wrong with animation or adult comedy or that Star Trek should be treated with more dignity, but I've just seen a lot of examples of like animated comedies that were kind of not great, and I was really worried.
Right. I mean, I can imagine that's a valid concern. You know, like, we're doing a new animated series. You know, the last time we tried that, it wasn't a ginormous success.
Right. Yeah.
Admittedly, 40 years ago, but. You know.
But yeah, we didn't know what the sort of overarching vision of the Kurtzman era was, and like how the current portfolio is so diversified. But a lot of care is given to making sure that these shows are run by people who have a very, very clear vision, both of what Star Trek can be, what it is to them,
right,
and also like the story that they want to tell that sets them apart. And yes, as Hauke points out, by using this animated, irreverent comedy format, you actually have an opportunity to be a lot more sincere than you would be able to do in a drama where, you know, when you get super heartfelt in a drama that already wears its heart on its sleeve, it's just kind of treacly.
Yes, in this case, they kind of do it the opposite way around. You know, they try to make it lighthearted and comedic, but underneath there's a strong layer of character development and earnest things.
Yes,
which is,
exactly.
Which is especially prominent in this episode.
Do you have any warp cores for us today?
Well, it's very pretty.
Yeah, a lot of people do like to stare at it.
Sit and stare mesmerizing at the warp core, the warp core creature. Well, I don't really have a warp core breach other than that, like something that just occurred to me. It's like something that, and it's not just about this episode, it's more something about the Star Trek franchise in general.
Yeah.
It's like we very often hear the warp core is going critical. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the warp core is where the matter and the antimatter is mixed together, right?
Yeah.
So you'd think that it's kind of always running critical, and if it fails, it's kind of like that submarine that went looking at the Titanic. You know, it's like there's no really build up to a failure. You know, it either works or it doesn't. And it's not like antimatter containers at 50%. No, you know.
So is that your? Do I have this? Is that your?
We eject the warp core.
Ejection of the warp core.
I wouldn't say. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's an exact warp core about this episode. It's just something that occurred to me while I was watching this.
Oh, how about this? So you have the matter-antimatter intermix chamber, which is part of a warp core,
right,
and that's what dilithium is used for to modulate that reaction. What if that's just an initiator for the actual reaction that's taking place? Doesn't it start with a fissile reaction or a spark? Or
no idea, to be honest.
Like, in order to get to the fusion reaction you want, you have to go through all these other stages of like supercooling and supermagnets and whatever.
But matter and antimatter, it touches, it goes. You don't have to initiate it. You don't have to.
Right, but what if that's just the ignition for the actual reaction that takes place into the warp core?
So what would be happening there then?
We don't have terms for it. It's, 15 millicochran's worth of flux in the capacitor, right?
Well, the matter-antimatter reaction is where the energy is generated. The question is then what happens to that energy? But still, I mean,
that's a reasonable assumption, but it's also still an assumption. Maybe there's something else happening. Maybe the energy being released is a fun byproduct, and that goes into the ship to run all the
energy
things.
is a fun byproduct
of something else that only takes place in a matter-antimatter reaction, which makes warp possible. Something that we don't have physics for, obviously, because we don't have warp engines.
You can explain anything with something that we don't have physics for.
Yes,
okay. It's well. Then why are we having?
No. But
if any discussion ends in like, oh well, maybe there's some physics that we don't know about.
This is so unfair because this is science. This is science fiction.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a fiction component, then it would just be science.
True.
Like, how do you write stories about things that are not understood? Either you do it through magic.
Matter-antimatter containment. It doesn't fail 50%. Oh no, 50% of the antimatter is escaping. The other 50% is fine though. No, then it still goes boom.
No, but that's what I was saying. Maybe like modulating the matter-antimatter intermix chamber. Jesus, say that 10 times fast.
Right.
Maybe that's the easy part. When they talk about the warp core going critical, they're not talking about, the intermix chamber is going critical. No, they're talking about a warp core. We don't know what happens in there.
Well, they always talk about containment failure.
Yes. Okay. Sometimes they talk about antimatter containment. Sometimes they talk about plasma containment. So either of those are disaster. Well, no. Antimatter containment would be absolutely disastrous.
Yes, the antimatter containment bottles, which is basically the fuel cell.
It's so cool though. Like I would just stand and watch it for ages, just like our heroes. I do have a warp core to dump here in this episode, which I noticed, by the way, you haven't described yet. Okay, what happens in this episode?
Oh, after yet another incident of a mariner blatantly not following orders, or at least not getting orders, she's encouraged to go to therapy, and taking a somewhat unusual method, she works through her issues in a healthy and lasting way.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And sort of
with a little bit, with a side bit of speciesism thrown in, and Boimler's Boimler.
Yeah, grossly violating the sort of core ethics of just being a Starfleet officer, I think.
Is it, though? I mean, like, if you just, like... I mean, he hasn't read the logs. He's just, like, dumped them into a big machine and, like, had them create exact duplicates of people.
Yeah.
As long as you use AI, it's not violating ethics.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, are you going to say it? Or are you just saying it now? That was the... Yeah, exactly. Because it's not as if privacy matters as long as it goes into a machine, and then you pay for the use of the machine. And then it's not like you've used anybody else's...
I came across a very interesting way to describe that the other day.
Yeah.
It's like if they're talking about AI, and it's like, oh, but it's AI, so it's cool, then you should replace the AI by a guy called Bob. Like, we give all this financial data to a guy called Bob.
Yeah, that works.
And then he tells everybody how much they should charge for their product. If that's not okay, then it's probably also not okay to let AI do that same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and like anytime you say AI, you can also just say a for-profit software product that someone's trying to sell.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
In order to produce shareholder value, rather than... Because that's the sort of thing.
Extract rent, more likely, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then, yes, I do think it's a huge ethics violation.
Yeah, because it's AI.
And someone like, no, but...
He hasn't read it, so it's fine, you know?
Accessing it. Like doing anything with it.
He's not accessing it. He's just taking it and giving it to the AI. It's fine.
You're fucking Quark's cousin Gayla, who's representing Bradward in his hearing, and I'm the desperate sort of JAG officer, like, no, this should be obvious. You can't. They're private.
No, they're logs. They're in the computer. There, you can just get them.
The fucking photon codes are in the computer.
I don't know. It's like...
You're not supposed to get those either. The Omega Directive is in the computer. Oh, nobody talk about the Omega Directive. Okay, fine. Let's dive into the episode. Let's as Captain Freeman would say, warp me.
So, we open to the Cerritos hanging above a planet, where a statue of a rat is being toppled.
Did you recognize this rat species?
Oh, not specifically, no. I mean, I did find them to look more like Planet of the Apes kind of monkey-type critters.
Right.
Rat versions of that.
Oh, this is a reference to, I think they're called the Anticans or Anticans from, like, episode, 4 of The Next Generation.
Oh.
Like... During that weird first season of Star Trek The Next Generation, when it really wasn't quite sure what sort of show it was going to be, some of the aliens were properly alien, and those included the Anticans and the Selay, who were these beautiful cobra people. Now, I noticed that these reptile people...
They're like cute little kobolds.
Yeah, they're like little... That's a really good way to describe them. I don't know
they're more like those little lizards you see in the tropics who sit there and lick their own eyeballs and not do a lot else.
Lots of animals lick their eyeballs.
Which is what they kind of like to do. You know, like, well, we just kind of want to bask. That's about it all. And
yeah.
What do lizards like to do?
Bask?
Okay, then you should bask without fear of being eaten.
Well, that does sound nice.
Oh, so I don't know if these reptile people are the Selay. I always thought that they were just so beautiful with their reptile cowls. I don't know if they're the same people because they don't have the sort of cobra cowl.
No, they're kind of like cutie lizard people.
Yeah, and they're very enthusiastic and sort of casual in going along with Mariner's revolution.
Right. Yes, which she seems to have quite easily done on a planetary wide scale.
Yeah,
without being interrupted by the crew of the Cerritos.
Yes, apparently that's...
So how long has she been gone for? How quickly has she managed to topple a planetary government?
I don't know, but I can't imagine it could have taken her more than a few hours, considering the speed at which things develop on Star Trek Lower Decks.
True.
And she's fully expecting to be praised for this. She's gloating to the Antican oppressor.
It's funny, normally I'm like a huge disappointment to her, but this time she's gonna be pumped that I rooted out injustice.
Is she, though? I mean, she that's what she professes.
Yeah.
But she knows what about the Prime Directive.
This is really interesting.
She knows she's just pulling bullshit again.
Yeah, you're right. Because this whole episode is about her self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
And I think also brilliantly, about like recognizing but not solving it, right? Because that's her fundamental flaw throughout the course of Lower Decks. She sabotages herself, does Mariner.
Yeah.
And understanding that she does it, why she does it, and what else she can do is a long process. It's not just like a single realization. That's,
very good. Yeah.
Much in the way that therapy is not a single breakthrough and then you can move on. Oh, as we saw in The Loss, when Deanna Troi was counseling that woman through her grief, and she said, oh, well, I had such a breakthrough that my grief is now resolved. Thank you. Bye.
A good cry about it and it's over. Yeah.
All good. All good.
Hey, you are way out of bounds here.
They're eating those guys. What am I supposed to do?
Report it to me.
Yeah, she announces very publicly, yes, a mistake has been made.
You're on a peaceful planet. How about we give you replicator technology to keep you from eating these other people?
And the Antarctica goes,
I don't know. Can they make nutrient pellets?
Yes.
Also, once again, my standard peeve about transporters is like, how the bleep do they know who they're supposed to be transporting up?
yes, because this time she says, one to beam up.
Yes.
And it takes Mariner, who yells,
I don't need therapy.
and then we get the opening credits. And we got to watch this with your boyfriend in the room, who apparently hasn't seen Lower Decks before.
I guess not, no. Have we not done an episode? We've done an episode.
We've done an episode, but you must not have been there with us when we recorded. So we see the Cerritos hanging out in this matter stream, coursing toward a black hole, getting bumped by some rocks and losing power and almost falling into the black hole. But now, we got back and warp off into space, only in order to glide past these beautiful glaciers and scrape a warp nacelle off the tip of one of these icebergs and lose power again and go down. There's a
Flee
battle.
the Borg battle and get sucked on by the big space creature.
Who is always my MVP because it's just sort of suckling on one of the warp nacelles. And I love how, like, as it glides out of frame, all of its eyes sort of glance at the screen like, hey, are you cool?
You want in on this?
There's like one more.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, guy.
Speaking of one more, I mean, sure I've seen it before, but it only just jumped out at me that how large the Cerritos' warp nacelles are.
Oh, yeah. They're
massive.
chunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not chunky, but they're long.
Long, that's right.
Yes.
Well, yes, we live in a widescreen era now, right? This was, like, if you look at the Defiant and the Enterprise D and even Voyager, all of them were designed to look good in a 4x3 frame.
Yes.
You've got to see the whole ship and be impressed by it and, like, be able to follow it.
Yeah.
And for the silhouette to make sense. And so, like, the Enterprise E, that was designed for cinema, so she was nice and long.
Yeah. Very good point.
Same with Discovery. Yeah, exactly. So that's the era we're in now. And I know some of our listeners they like those long nacelles. They got to think for it, right?
Mariner is sent to the ship's counselor,
Dr. Miglimo,
who is a parrot-type critter.
Yeah, he's an avian species.
Which is fine. I mean, it's kind of suitable. I mean, a little parrot for a counselor. It's like, how do you feel about it? It's like, I don't know. Really, don't you? It's like,
okay, but now you're just being Eliza.
Eliza who?
Oh, sorry, Eliza, the first computer program to sort of try and pass the Turing test.
Typical joke about, like, you know, counselors or therapists. All they do is, like, basically mirror your questions back at you. It's a gross exaggeration, but, you know,
that is one of many techniques used by therapeutic practitioners. Because, yeah, one of the things is help you reflect and explore. There are many other techniques, of course.
Yeah.
I noticed some things about Dr. Miglimo's office. First of all, and I really love these, bookshelves with doors on them to keep the books on the shelves when the ship gets knocked all about.
Oh, yeah, very clever. Yeah.
Right? And there's also something up with these plant pots. He's got these plant pots with what looks like buckets for pots and a little sort of nubbin on the one above the pot.
Like, you mean the one that's hanging on the wall?
The ones that are standing on the ground.
Oh.
So there's a little protrusion. Yeah, it's a little nubbin here, pointing at the Jeef.
Oh, let me have a quick look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just a label.
It seems to be a protrusion.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like a viewing window, or it's probably got something to do with maintaining moisture content or something like that. Or I'd call it, yeah. My first thought would have been just a label saying what plant is in it, but I can see what you mean, yeah. Or maybe it's just like the holder of the champagne bucket that he repurposed into putting his plants in. Any of those are possibilities. Maybe it's maybe it's a bucket of birdseed which still has the little shipping label.
Oh, that's adorable. And all of his terrible food metaphors.
Captain's orders. She wants us to meet every week, cooking up some healthy strategies to marinate you into the officer she knows you can be.
And Mariner is furious that she's being sent here instead of being sent to the
I wanted
brig.
to go to the brig, and I don't want to go to
Smashing
therapy.
everything.
And it's like, I should be in the brig because I'm in a bad girl, and I should be...
We need to find an outlet for all that rage, says the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Unfortunately, the rage gets outlet on the sweet little bonsai that he has on his table.
I know. That must be there just as a decoy for the actual bonsai that matters to him.
Oh, yes, probably. I mean, this is just the one that he replicates standard, you know.
Uh-huh. A 50-centimeter smashing bonsai, please.
Bonsai 471, you know.
I don't want your help. I want to show the captain that she's wrong and then get put in the brig.
So she's moping on the holodeck while her friends are shooting skeets with Da Vinci.
How about some paella?
And instead of joining her friends in shooting these targets with the maestro, she's just sort of moping on a chair. She's refusing even to have this amount of fun.
Yes.
And
But
then,
she's still there.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made sure that she came along. And their friend Boimler walks on and asks to take over.
Do you mind if I take over the deck? I've got a big evaluation with Captain Freeman this afternoon. She's selecting eager-to-please candidates for her advanced diplomacy workshop.
This is where we discover that he has, yes, indeed simulated the entire crew by putting the private logs information into
7
the
years
computer.
worth of private logs of the entire... This is such a violation. And just imagine...
it was just there. It's just in the computer. You can just use it.
You're
It's like ducks in the park are free. You can just take them.
Whoa! Is that true? Is that in fact actually true? Now that I'm just thinking about
What's
it.
going to stop you?
Someone must want to, right?
I don't know.
This world has fewer boundaries than I thought it did. It maybe should have a few more.
Well, there's the libertarian approach to that thought and the other more conservative one.
More conservative than libertarian.
Yeah, libertarians are not they're not conservative. They're libertarian.
Yeah,
Libertarian.
no,
Well,
hold on,
it's like,
no.
let's not go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there are several nations with democratic in their name that are anything but.
Oh, yes. There was a fun one. It's like, what's a good way to describe libertarians? And someone said, house cats. They think they're fiercely independent, but they're entirely dependent on a system they can't comprehend or even
appreciate.
Yeah, or appreciate,
Yeah.
yes.
And without question, his friends make space for him and want to play along.
Yes, well, they kind of think it's cool, and then Mariner goes like, oh, wait, I can use this.
And it algorithmically created a perfect simulation of everyone on the Cerritos. They'll respond exactly the way they would in real life.
And that's immediately tested when Rutherford goes up to Shax, who
Yeah.
says,
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Don't talk to me, I'm pissed off!
Whoa, amazing. We had that exact same conversation an hour ago.
Rutherford and his
it's-
admiration for the senior officers.
yeah, Mama Bear. I appreciate that. It's played for a joke, but imagine having sort of the self-awareness to tell someone that you care about, right now, please don't talk to me, I'm pissed off. And
Yeah.
oh, yeah, of course you don't want to talk right now. Cool. Thanks for letting me know, instead of, crushing it down and having an interaction where I wonder if I'm doing something wrong.
Yep.
And it's something wrong that Mariner intends to do, because she very quickly takes over and she immediately has an idea for what she wants to play. Within the space of 20 seconds, she programs an entire plot.
Which is fantastically lampshaded by Boimler going
What, you wrote out a whole script in 2 seconds?
I just hit the act breaks, couple set pieces.
Set pieces?
The computer's filling in the rest.
She just prompted the AI to, you fill in other details.
if Freeman sees this, you'll get court-martialed. Yes, but not when he does it for training.
Yeah. Huh. Well, because he's used to getting away with the things that he does.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Suppose,
he does them really on the sly because he's such an anxious person.
Right. And
all of his
Mariner is
transgressions.
much, yeah.
Whoa. Hold on. Realizing something about this now. Boimler's the bad guy and she's kind of the good guy. Because
Well,
all of her, she sabotages her own transgressions. She always expects to be discovered and punished and set straight. And that's how she contributes to the greater good. Boimler, not so much.
No, true. He gets away with stuff mainly because he doesn't gets noticed.
Yeah. And because he doesn't have any goals beyond his desire to please and be appreciated.
Yeah. And just be a little tryhard. Maybe Boimler's problem is that he is somewhat resistant to workahol.
Oh, Oh, you think it just doesn't work on him the way it does for
maybe just
anybody else?
Lesser efficiency, It's like, and he has to
and all this stuff that's so easy for everybody else, as they're being, all the other lotus eaters, they just get swept along, and he has to actually work for it and fret.
Yes.
Oh my God, poor Bradward. And it's time for more credits.
Yes, Crisis Point: The Rise of Vindicta.
All right.
Ooh, nice font.
And I love that they have to dodge the credits as they keep flying at them.
It's so cool. They comment on how great the font was. Yeah, I think that's from Next Generation. Was it Serpenta? Chief, what font did they use here?
So the font that they used is called Criley. This is a fairly popular font. It's actually been used in the Metra logo. But yeah, the font is Metra. It's the same thing they've used in TNG. They've used it quite a bit. It's kind of become a very standard Star Trek font since TNG.
Thank you. And it's specifically like the Season 5 Next Generation credits that had these warp streaks behind it.
Oh yeah, that seems familiar, yes.
And they're discussing like what Mariner is doing, that she's making a movie, a Starfleet movie, which you can see by the fact that it's extra widescreen. It's in anamorphic.
They kind of narrow the screen a little bit top to bottom.
And that they've got these really pronounced rim lights. So a standard photographic and cinematic lighting setup, you have your main light, which illuminates people's faces and the features that you want to see. You have a fill light, which makes sure that the shadows don't get completely black, comes in from the opposite direction. Both of those generally come from the front. And then from the back, you have a really powerful, really sharp light that you want to just glance the edge of their shoulder and the rim of their hair to separate them from the background.
Okay, I noticed that in the, especially in the bridge crew.
Yes.
I thought it was kind of like signaling that they were holograms, but it's just a different video technique.
Yes, it's a lighting technique that requires a bit more time for every setup. So
because you have to, and you also have to keep that light precisely behind the actor and the camera.
So every time you move the camera, you have to move those lights. So it's something that for television traditionally wasn't done because you need much faster production, but you could do it in cinema. So that's also being done here. Now that they're in the movie, they suddenly have all these pronounced rim lights.
I absolutely love how they just kind of wander off screen, like exit stage right, to get into costume, leaving Boimler behind. And then when suddenly
sort of Wile E. Coyote in the air. Also, hey, that's also a bit of a callback to, I guess, when the gangplank is removed from under Worf's feet in the start of Generations.
Yes.
Oh, and maybe something in an Insurrection as well.
I was kind of thinking of like at the beginning, at the opening of Witches, where Kirk is climbing El Capitan, and
the Final Frontier.
The Final Frontier, that's the one. Yes. And Spock is standing there in his rocket boots.
Oh, yes, just hovering.
I do not think you realize the gravity of your situation.
On the contrary, gravity is foremost on my mind.
Because, yes, like as Lord Gareth on Trek BB said, this was a great spoof of the Star Trek movies. All of them.
Well, yes, yeah. Welcome to Star Trek, all of it.
Yes. Oh, well, very good, yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because like so many Star Trek movies, it opens with an exciting sort of sports adventure.
Yes.
Like Kirk's fat ass climbing El Capitan.
Yeah.
Or what else? Actually, now I think of it. It's pretty much that. Does anybody else? Anything else opening with?
It opens, like a James Bond movie, really. That one is.
Generations would have opened with Kirk doing orbital skydiving.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But they couldn't get it look right.
Oh, I guess that was just ultimately cut. Remember, that's where B'Elanna got her orbital skydiving suit from in Extreme Risk.
Night. No, yes, right. Sorry, Night was the other one.
The other depressing one on Voyager. We've sort of switched tracks on Voyager, haven't we? We went from like the super low stakes ones to the really sort of
dark drama. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, the senior bridge crew is out powerboating or whatever you call those things. Hydro-scooting.
I might be getting up in years, but I still hold the hydro-scoot speed record back at the Academy. Captain, out!
Okay, I might be getting up in years, but I still hold the hydro-scoot speed record back at the Academy. Those two statements are entirely unrelated.
What? Her record hasn't been broken.
Yeah, but what that has to do with her age? It's like, I may be getting up in years, so like, because my old record hasn't been broken, I'm still good at it? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, okay. Okay.
They kind of have to dodge because Boimler hits the water.
Yeah, and the holographic program sort of adapts to his presence. They recognize that he's there, and that he's not supposed to.
He quickly manages to get up on the captain's scoot, though, because at one moment he's in the water, and the next moment he's up on the hydroscoot. Or it might be Shax's.
It's Shax's, because Shax is in the water, who, he can't stay mad.
I don't remember giving you permission to scoot with us, Ensign.
Yeah, actually, I need to borrow the captain for a quick interview.
It's her birthday!
Because that's Boimler's sort of comedic contribution to this entire episode, was just trying to test questions on the captain so he can figure out how to brown nose.
Takes it as an opportunity to follow her and to listen into conversations he would normally not be privy to.
Almost as if he's reading her personal logs and trying to determine...
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because a guy called Bob did it for him.
Some guy called Bob, a for-profit paid software product.
On board a Federation starship, probably not, but,
Ugh.
But yes, at first it's like it's not vacation, but at the end it's like vacation's over.
Yes, because they get summoned by... Oh, is this Admiral Buenavigo? Chief, who's the Admiral who summons them?
No, this is not Admiral Buenavigo. This is Admiral Vassery.
Thank you. Who, on this gorgeous starbase, it's so beautiful, informs them that second contact has been made by a San Clemente.
Starfleet doesn't have a San Clemente. Whoever second contacted them wasn't our ship.
And I love what Boimler says, like, oh, yes. Well, in a real situation, you would have sent the Enterprise. But, we're taking an artistic license here because this is not about the Enterprise.
And the Admiral asks...
whose boy is this?
Yes.
I don't know if the implication is, no one would bring this along unless it was his, a child.
A pet project,
Yes, exactly. Whose boy is this? Is such a low blow.
So yes, it's fortunately the Cerritos has just gone through some upgrades and is now ready to come out of dock, and this is where we get that fantastic scene of the shuttle flying around the Cerritos, getting all the shots. The crew on board the shuttle getting more and more emotional, up to the point of the chief engineer literally breaking down in tears and having to be consoled by Mariner.
I know. I kind of get it, because you never get to see your own ship.
Very rarely, yes.
Right? And they are things of beauty. And it's like the motion picture. It's like Star Trek 2009. Those were at the beginning. Let me see. In The Search for Spock, you have it at the end. Or no, that's The Voyage Home.
Oh, yeah.
And Star Trek Beyond, kind of, as well, as the new Enterprise A is constructed.
Yes. And unlike Captain Pike, who, once he does his little flying tour around the ship, transports into the Enterprise,
yes.
They actually use the bloody damn shuttle bay.
Oh, did you hear the music here, by the way? Reminded me of the Wrath of Khan.
Oh, right. Well, a lot of this, there's so many Wrath of Khan references in this movie, in this episode.
Good point.
I wish I could kiss her and squeeze her.
Excuse me?
The Cerritos is a handsome lady.
You're damn right about that, Boimler.
Call the ship a handsome lady.
Captain wanders on the bridge. And
lens flare!
Yep.
Lens flare everywhere. Notice the rim lights as well. Very intense.
Yes, time to take this puppy off its leash. Which is actually interesting, because the way she sits down in her chair, it'd be almost impossible to get rim lights in a shot like that if you're doing it for real.
Yes. Yeah, good point. Because there's no angle that the light can come in that isn't blocked by the chair. Very good.
Which is probably why I thought of it like maybe a little holographic effect, which it's...
Yeah, good point.
And then again, you never see that in any hologram.
And she says,
warp me!
And it's a beautiful shot. And the Cerritos... What's the sort of electrical thing called where you have two pipes
Electric
and...
arc?
Yeah, but what's the
Jacob's ladder.
That's the one. The warp engines
Yes.
are like a Jacob's ladder. I wonder if they were ever intended to be that. I'm just going to favorite this GIF here because I just love this.
Yes, please do.
And warps off into space, leaving some little trails, much like in, what was it? I think it was Star Trek 2009. And they arrive at Idlokana 6.
Where they very shortly afterwards are confronted with what looks like a Romulan warbird.
See, it's all over the place. It has sort of the shape of a Klingon.
It's kind of like
battle cruiser,
like a battle cruiser, and a bird of prey went on and had a little good time with each other, and now they've got little.
Yeah, but also some mixed and Klingon, Romulan Klingon influences. And
well, yeah, I mean, with that, you definitely have the macro inertial stabilizers on each side of a Mariner's command chair, very much in the style of the Klingon.
Oh, yes, because on the screen is this glowing throne and a diabolical pirate with, yes, these inertial stabilizers in the form of giant columns.
Macro inertial stabilizers.
And she speaks to Captain Freeman as if they know each other, because this pirate initiated this second contact just to lure the Cerritos there.
Yes, you are fallen for my plan.
But who are you?
Yes, like, I don't know you.
I love Mariner in this. Like, her makeup is so cool as Vindicta, and she's having it up. She's loving it so much. She doesn't have to think about all of her problems. She can just go nuts, which is what she really, really wants.
Do you think they're they're borrowing a little bit from Mad Max Fury Road here? Because like Furiosa also had kind of like that eye.
Oh,
and she's like, rather than Furiosa, she is Vindicta.
Oh, good point. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Because that came out in 2016, 2017?
Something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Jeez, you probably know this off the top of your head. Off the top of your well-made-up head, that I believe as you're listening to this, you may be sort of wiping the grease paint off your forehead after having played Praetorian Jack at Denver Comic-Con, hey?
Cocky, you think I can't tell when you're pandering to me and my want to always tell fun stories, but yes, that is very true. And you were wrong about when it came out, because it came out in 2015. So, yeah, I threw together a cosplay from the recent Furiosa movie in about 4 days, because I realized I had everything but a leather jacket, and I could just go to Goodwill and just beat the crap out of it to make it look good. And while going to see a voice actor that I really appreciate, Yuri Lowenthal, who's been in just about everything, his handler was collecting the money from the autograph and was asking me like what my cosplay was, and I was like, oh, it's, you know, someone from the new Mad Max movie, whatever, and the guy hadn't seen it. But then you're at the end of the table, Yuri Lowenthal, like, very animatedly screamed, "It's Praetorian Jack!" And I just kind of sat there, just kind of like stunned, like I think I may have just stunned some people who were listening to me scream that, so I'm very sorry about that. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, you are a fan, so my going up there to talk to him about his work very quickly devolved into talking about Mad Max for a solid like 5 minutes or something like that, because he was just so excited to share the love of that universe, especially the last two movies, with someone. And it was quite a fun experience, because every once in a while as a cosplayer you run into celebrities who are very into your costume, and it is a great feeling when that happens. So that was pretty fantastic. That was also the same day that I met Shax, the fantastic Fred Tatasciore, who called me Baby Bear as Shax, and that is something I will take with me to my grave quite happily.
And Vindicta introduces us to the rest of her hench crew.
The three henchmen of Vinpocalypse.
Tendi, my savage warrior queen, who comes from a long line of thieving Orion pirates.
Yeah, nobody messes with Orions. I'll steal from anyone and never give it back. Theft!
You can see already going, it's like, yeah, being stereotyped here already as an Orion.
Yeah, we don't all do... As she later points out, some Orions haven't been pirates for over 5 years.
Yes.
Which is very proud of.
Bionic 5, half man meat, half robot meat, all pain, 100% paid.
Tremble at the sight of the great Vindicta!
Bionic 5 is the name that she gives to Rutherford, and he loves it. He's having so much fun. He looks awesome as well. He's got these Mad Max spikes and pauldrons on.
He does a bit, yes. Does he have that tattoo in real life?
We don't know.
No, actually, we haven't seen him with his shirt off. Because he's not Kirk.
And Shempo.
What is that a reference to? Shempo?
I don't know. It's just...
I'm Shempo. I was supposed to be played by Boimler.
Because he's got sort of purplish hair.
Yeah, more or less, kind of like Boimler-ish after you give him a like weird haircut.
But even the holographic version of Boimler is also Captain Pleasing try hard. And so, Vindicta phases him.
Yes. Much to Boimler's surprise and chagrin.
I love how he continues to... And everybody's like, no, Shempo. It reminds me of like, whenever you're in like doing Dungeons and Dragons or a similar game, and despite the fact that you're Game Master has laid down a very clear sort of lampshade and a clue of where you need to go next. You sort of ask, who else is in the tavern? And he goes, I think there's a...
Right, yes.
Right, the old joke. Oh, I think there's a goblin named Sam Smorkle. Oh, I want to talk to Sam Smorkle.
Yes.
And now it's the Sam Smorkle show.
And not to the guy who is sitting there being all mysterious and broody with the 5 iron stones floating around his head.
Yes, and 1 stone wing and 1 metal wing and a claw made of... No, we want to talk to Shampoo.
He doesn't last long because, yes, once he brings her coffee instead of tea, he gets phasered.
Yeah. And Mariner, as Vindicta, unleashes her diatribe against her mother, the holographic captain.
You're a coward who hide behind rank, can't even appreciate your most valuable creative thinkers. You are going to die today.
And as Holo Freeman points out,
this Vindicta is all over the place.
So yes, she makes her big speech, and in the meantime, because the speech is just a recording, little shuttlecraft or something goes...
boarding pod.
Yeah.
Breaching pod, that's the term.
Oh yes, which cuts a hole in the hull and slams a capsule down into the corridor right on top of 2 crew members who are kind of like getting it on a little bit.
Yeah, you had Lieutenant Lamont who was talking to Winger and like praising his one-man show, and he's just taking a bow. Oh, thank you very much. And then they're crushed by this evil TARDIS that zaps in. Vindicta's cape gets stuck on the door.
Yes.
It's always so annoying.
No capes.
No capes, very... sick The Incredibles reference, bro. And as they are accosted by a security team, whom Vindicta mercilessly slaughters...
Yes. I mean, it's only a movie. It's only a holodeck.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Rutherford is now realizing. Wait.
So I can say whatever I want to my boss with no consequences?
Which is actually, it's lampshaded a little bit because at first it makes it seem like he's going to tell him off.
Yeah.
And it turns out that...
Andy Billups, you think you're the best engineer in the fleet. Well, I've wanted to say something to you for a long time. You are the best engineer in the fleet.
Yeah. Oh, bless. And, of course, it doesn't bother Mariner that her crew is abandoning her to do their own thing because she's there to have a good time. Everybody going
No, she's definitely not there to have a good time.
She's just having some fun.
She is there to be a vindictive bitch and let it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is not there to have a good time at all.
She's finding an outlet for her rage.
That's what she's telling herself. It's like, oh, this is all great. This is fantastic therapy. And I mean, I guess it turns out in the end it is, but...
Not in the way that she imagines for
exactly.
herself.
Pirate it up! Take some slaves!
She says, rather offensively to her Orion friend.
Yes. Tendi does put up with it for a little bit longer, while Boimler is helping the first officer who got phaser wounded but not killed.
Yes, because Ransom showed up, believing that he would take down these overpowered space pirates and even taunt her like...
You can talk the talk, but can you...
She beats him in the shoulder.
Yes. She can do both! Oh, she's walking and talking!
Oh no, she must be a main character.
And Boimler consoles his commanding officer.
Tell me what the captain's favorite type of cookie is.
Tell me before you succumb to the pain.
Captain's got a sweet tooth. Cookies are a good move. I've done it myself. But watch out. She's allergic to...
Allergic to what? Ransom! Allergic to what?
And then he's devastated. No! Allergic to what?
Yes. Meanwhile, What's-Face is hunting Billups.
Oh, well, Bionic 5,
yes,
played by Samanthan Rutherford.
Samanthan Rutherford. That's a peculiar name, yes. But yes.
So is Bradward, but hey, whatever.
True. For some not readily apparent reason, all of the engineering crew is evacuated from engineering. The blast...
Yeah, because Bionic 5 comes in, one of the engineers tries to phaser him, he dodges, which causes the coolant whatever tanks next to the door to be hit. There's a coolant leak, and that's why Billups heroically evacuates his engineering crew, staying behind to seal the door.
Yes. It comes down to a mean showdown where Bionic 5 is like telling him, like, I've come here to tell you that
you are
the best engineer in the fleet. Oh.
Yeah.
I love how you program subroutines. It's breathtaking. It feels so good to say it.
And they get to work together on bypassing the indenta controls and suppress the Satvians to create a rudimentary plasma filter.
Are those weed things?
It seems to sound like them, yes.
Sativa and
India Controls and Sativans, yes. It does sound very much like a wheat thing. Yes. They just casual slip that in there.
Nice. So this is just two work colleagues who have a certain boundary between them, who are like discovering their mutual love for certain herbal supplements.
You know what they say, if you give stoners some weed but nothing to smoke it in, they'll turn into fucking engineers.
So they construct a rudimentary plasma filter to save their own lives and the rest of the crew, while the pirates are making their way to the bridge where Shax has a BFG.
Yes, it was described in the script as they gave Shax a phaser bazooka, described as a movie budget gun in Mariner's script programmed into the holodeck.
Oh, that's brilliant. But she has an ace in the hole, which is out of her bag of tricks, she pulls a Borg head.
Yes, which first uses for shielding and then for exploding.
Borg head?
Designation explosive.
Who is that? Is that a Borg we know? I'm trying to see if that's a face, which it's supposed to be.
It doesn't have anything distinctive.
Random Borg head. No, it's just got not a lot of implants, really. Just the over-the-eye thing and not much else.
I do love that.
When you get to hell, tell the Paw Wraith that Shax sent you. Special delivery straight from Bajor!
And now we see just how deeply Mariner's getting into it, because covered in Bajoran gore, she picks up the ear and asks Tendi, hey...
Oh, look! Oh, Shax's earring! You have to wear it. Come here.
Okay, well, two things. There's bits of Shax still on it, and also, this is hugely appropriative.
Yes, but yeah, she goes like, "Oh, pillaging's your whole thing. Okay, stop it." And she calls it quits here. It's like,
"Come on, dude, Orions are pirates. Pillaging's your whole thing."
Okay, stop. It is not my whole thing. And for your information, many Orions haven't been pirates for over 5 years.
Yeah,
and then she quits basically
because Tendi has reached the edge of her enjoyment.
Yes,
which I can really relate to, because as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot softer, and video games like Grand Theft Auto, I mean, there's a lot of just murdering people who are doing their jobs, right?
Right, yes.
It was sort of funny back in the Duke Nukem days when all the cops were mutant pigs, as cannon fodder.
I mean, that hasn't changed. All cops are bastards. It's still a thing, you know?
Right, okay, but that's about the police as an institution, right? And certainly, specifically in America, it's different for every country. But I'm more and more sensitive in movies as well, when the good guys are breaking into whatever lab, to really think through, okay, they're taking out these guards. Those are these guys with jobs. Those are rent-a-cops, right?
Basically how much the protagonists are murder hobos.
Yeah. It's not like those are all hench people who have chosen a path of evil. No, they're just... I mean, they probably got, detached from some organization that, where you can just order security forces from.
Good point, yes.
They don't deserve to be murdered for doing their jobs.
Yeah, Tendi actually says it's
What is with you today? This is not healthy. Can we stop the movie?
No, I'm fine. This is feeling good. Come on, let me just take down the captain, and then we can grab tacos.
I don't want to watch you phaser the captain.
Phaser? Oh, it's going to be way worse than that.
I am out of here. Arch.
Right, it's not just what they're doing that she doesn't enjoy. The choices that Mariner is making, this isn't her friend. This is something f***ed up. Did you notice, by the way, that when she walks out of the holodeck, the blood disappears off of her skin?
Oh, I hadn't much. I can see it in the GIFs now, but yes, I hadn't noticed that at first. So yeah, that's actually a cute effect. Very nice touch there.
And notice also how the letterboxing, you can see it through the door.
Oh yes, when it's the letterboxing disappears when she steps out the door.
Because the Cerritos is 16 by 9, but the holodeck movie is 2.35 by 1.
Wow, yeah, that's kind of like having to adjust the doctor's chromatic scale to fit the.
The captain is now alone on the bridge, except for 2 officers.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Jeeves, pay attention to the one where she says, "Ransom, Shax, anyone come in?" Look in the top right.
Yeah.
See that little oval appearing?
The little cigarette burn.
The cigarette burn, exactly. Now, from the time of... Okay, when Mommy and Daddy used to go to the movies, we'd sometimes still see those in the top right, because on film projectors...
Just watch Fight Club. It gets explained there.
Oh, no, it's fine. Sorry, I was going to say, oh no, someone who's too young to know what those are probably shouldn't watch Fight Club, but those are in the 30s by now, so... Yeah, it's fine. Go watch Fight Club. But Before you get your expectations up, movies like that didn't always have little frames of a big, fat, juicy cock.
No. At least we don't, not that we know of, but... You know.
Well, they don't anymore. Not single frame. Anyway.
Hauke, I really do love it when you mention something like that I can just immediately hone in on, because while a lot of people took different messages from that movie and took different things from Fight Club, that sometimes not always the healthiest way to view being a man or just being a human person in general. My big takeaway from Fight Club was that sequence, because I saw that and I'd always kind of wondered what the cigarette burns on films were when films were still displayed on film, and seeing that was like, oh, now I know what that is, and it was just really neat. So I mean, that was my big takeaway from Fight Club when I first saw it, was exactly that, because I saw that and was like, oh, that's just really cool to actually know what that's from. I never really thought about splicing in a single frame of a penis, but hey, I mean, I wasn't aware of myself at that time, so who knows? Maybe that did make some awakenings there or something. Who knows?
Vindicta walks in. Haha, it's just you and me. Oh, and those two other guys whom she takes out with her. Did you notice her weapon, by the way?
Oh, not particularly.
It's this 4-barrel disruptor.
Oh, yes, and it fires the barrels each in turn, yes.
Yeah!
Which is quite a cool effect, yeah.
What do you call something like that? Because there have been, revolver weapons.
I mean, the standard designation for that kind of weapon is usually a pepper box.
Oh, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So that's where the barrels are fixed?
It depends. It's been done in a revolver configuration where you basically have 6 revolver barrels, each with their own charge in it,
yeah.
and it rotates just like a revolver cylinder does. But
there you have only one firing mechanism and pin that stays in place.
Right, but there's also versions where the firing pin, basically like a clock, when it pulls back, it clicks over to the next one, and it turns around, and it hits a different primer every time. So which is more like a clockwork mechanism in the...
It's still a revolver, but just revolving the pin instead of the barrels.
Exactly, yeah. And I can see how both would have their advantages.
The latter seems structurally much more solid and dependable, but also a little less accurate.
Probably also a bit more fiddly. I mean, there's more like the clockwork mechanism like that. There's maybe more to go wrong than... I guess it's a trade-off.
Rotating pin or rotating barrels, either way you've got a rotating mechanism.
Right, but with rotating barrels you can make it more sturdy. You can make it bigger. You can make it...
okay.
Yeah, it's less fiddly, that's what I'm saying. But, both.
So,
cool.
3 or 4 blasts of her weapon later, and now they definitely are alone in this room. And Vindicta continues to, Vindicta fades, and Angry Mariner finally comes to the surface. To holographic Freeman's great confusion, because I don't know you.
Exactly, which is the problem. And yes, which is, in a way, I think is actually indicative for their entire relationship, that Mariner doesn't get understood by her mother, or at least believes she doesn't. And
I think that's completely right. And unfortunately, that's quite normal for people who love each other not to fully understand each other. They come from different worlds, and especially a parent who has continuous memories from changing your nappies to the person that you are today, versus we don't have those memories of ourselves.
No.
And we certainly don't have the sort of continuous gradient between those versions. We maybe remember ourselves at 6, 12, 18 and today, but we didn't, it's like seeing old photos of yourself versus seeing your face in the mirror every day.
Right, yes, very good point.
Oh my God, you're crazy.
No, this is crazy.
She blows up her own ship. Warp core's gone critical, brace for impact, boom. And we get a very Generations shot of the Cerrito going down in flames. The saucer section breaks off, which goes literally rolling through the forest.
Yeah, first one nacelle snaps up, the other one gets taken out by one of those mountains, also reminiscent of Star Trek Beyond and the search for Spock. Yeah.
Warning. This ship has crashed.
Unclear where they are now, whether this is still the bridge.
Rando planet. Oh, I mean, they must have fallen through somewhere, don't know. She gives the order to evacuate the ship, and she's questioning her. It's okay, why are you going to give up this loving captain act? Because, and she sees it as an act. I guess she sees things in her mother that, I don't know, she projects in them. I don't know what exactly her beef. It's not really clear what her beef with her mother is, other than...
Well, the relationship between a parent and child is maybe more than can be really examined in a 25-minute episode. That's
right.
But she's always seen, I think, a certain degree of hypocrisy in her mother that her mother won't acknowledge. And, that's fine. We all have a certain, fiction that we present.
Right.
Because she believes that her mother is more like her than her mother will admit.
Right.
Which is partly true, but also true is she's more like her mother
than she wants to admit.
She wants to admit.
Yeah.
This is the difficulty in their relationship, that both of them. Oh, I learned about a phenomenon where if you take a any kind of personality trait or whatever you can just a metric for a personality, emotional sensitivity, curiosity,
right.
maybe the spectrum of autism, whatever. And you chart those. Usually for populations, you get a normal distribution, right? You get a bell curve. And if someone is off center from the bell curve, under times of stress, they move farther away from the center.
Okay.
Based on whatever that is. If you're an eager to please person, if that's the position that you have on this bell curve, under times of stress, you become more eager to please or more aggressive or more suspicious.
Okay, yeah. That seems to make sense.
Yeah. And so, Mariner, she has a degree of aggression, which can be a very productive...
And suspicion. And...
All of which have very positive traits and very, very negative. So in times of stress, she's moving away from the center, and those are becoming more extreme. And the same's happening with her mother, who has this affection for not just her child, but for her entire crew. And that's becoming more extreme as she's placed under pressure.
Yes. Fortunately, to help that...
I initiated a rapid repeating emergency transport sequence and beamed the entire crew before we crashed.
What? But that's not possible.
No, it's a movie. You can beam whatever you want. You can do all sorts of beaming stuff in a movie.
What? That is amazing.
I learned it from you, sir.
Okay.
Which normal beaming doesn't allow.
No, exactly. It's movies and first episodes of seasons when suddenly transporters can do things that they normally can't. Yeah. Like beaming an eye solve into... Spock's tear fluid on his eye in Strange New Worlds. Very impressive, Chief Carl. Well done.
I mean, wouldn't it be just as easy to beam it onto his finger and then him just having a quick rub on it? Seems much safer.
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea. It was cool.
Mariner and her mum are fighting. They are having a cable, and she's doing a good job. She gets her daughter tied up in the bridge in the cables which are dangling there.
You've been a jerk since I was 8! Why do you have to be so hard on me?
What? I don't know you!
Because it's still the program version who has no idea what's going on.
Yep.
And Mariner is definitely going off script.
She gets the upper hand. She's got her mother pinned down. She's got a piece of rebar that she's wielding like a spear.
And just at that moment, who shows up? Nobody else than Mariner.
Mariner herself.
And she is quite offended.
You simulated me in here too? Not cool, man. I got private stuff in those logs.
Yeah,
yeah.
Now it's suddenly not cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nice one.
When you're being honest to everybody thinks it's great until you be honest to them, and then you're the asshole.
Uh-huh. And Mariner finds her mother and immediately says, emergency transport on signal now, using her mother's communicator.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's
great.
Well done.
And Holla Freeman is beamed off, leaving Holla Mariner to face off against Vindicta.
Yeah. Thanks for ruining my fantasy, but we'll still have the catwalk fight.
Let me make it up to you. Double punch!
Yeah. Double block!
This fight is amazing. Because, they know all of each other's moves. And this is, I don't think anybody for a second missed that this is the core of her sort of self-confrontational therapy.
Right, yes.
Because he gets to say all these things and hear all these things being said. This is that reflection technique of asking people's questions back on them.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to, projecting those onto others and, actually being mirrored and having to think about it yourself and, seeing how that sounds is so informative. Because, Holla Mariner points out.
And I know you actually love the warp core. Take that back. The warp core's lame.
Warp core's lame.
She doesn't admit to it. Right. Meanwhile, engineers are having a little heart-to-heart.
Hey, I know you might be a psychotic space raider whose boss just destroyed my ship, but you are all right in my book.
That's a book I'd read, cover to cover.
Kind of they have a little bit of bromance going there.
Yeah, which turns very, very bromantic.
Very, yes. Like, oh, we can run away together and get our own ship, and
we fix
we can buffer the face whenever we want to. Yes. I'll buffer your face calls, darling.
Hell yeah. That's so awesome. Like, this is the exploration of, like, you could have totally non-sexual, non-romantic, platonic love that's as intense, and how wonderful would that be?
Yes. Much to the improvement of Tan, apparently, who stands there with a big grin on her face going like,
Godspeed, you crazy f***.
It just says you crazy in this GIF, and it even has, like, the full stop at the end. But no, she says, Godspeed, you crazy f***ers.
Yes. Boimler tries to brown nose a little bit more because he has made cookies.
But Ensign Jet is there to stop him.
She's allergic to chocolate. Use assassin.
And good assassin blocking move there. Jet is so intense.
I think this promotion.
I think this is the same guy who offers to carry Boimler over the boundary like a bride.
Yes.
I think that's Jet too.
Yeah.
It's a hunky gentleman, that.
Meanwhile, the fight goes on, and Hollow Mariner is like, yeah, well.
Okay, well then why did I let you kick my ass to buy time for everyone to get off the ship before the self-destruct timer went off? Wait, what?
I was just keeping you busy, because, yeah, why else would she have remained there instead of beaming to safety with her mother? Because she says,
Yeah, I may hate protocol, but I don't hate the ship. I don't hate the crew. I work with my best friends. The captain's my mom. I would do anything for her.
And she admits that, like, you know, if she was to be off the ship, then she would probably get kicked out of Starfleet real fast, and it's Mom who's, like, protecting her.
Yeah. Like, Hollow Mariner has a lot to say to Vindicta here. Like, you're not being cast as a villain. You're doing that yourself. You're breaking the rules because that's what everyone expects from you.
Yes, but that's an expectation that you've created yourself.
If you really were a badass, you'd do the hard thing and just be a good officer.
Yeah, you do the work.
Wow.
Sniff that workahol.
Hey, that's right. Maybe she's also immune to work.
Oh, possible, yeah. Or maybe she's taking an antidote. Now, she's more like the kind who would take an antidote to workahol.
Yeah.
She's kind of like got her anti-workahol patch, which she puts on her.
Oh, now I'm thinking that that's actually a Rutherford thing, so he can enjoy the work even more.
Oh, maybe she's stealing Rutherford's patches.
Jesus, this is getting really complicated. Okay, so Boimler is naturally immune. Rutherford thinks he's taking antidotes, but they're being replaced with placebos.
Because Mariner is actually taking Rutherford's anti-workahol.
And probably Tendi is quietly replacing Mariner's anti-workahol patches with placebos anyway, because they're not good for you. They're very...
So, big bada boom, ship goes boom. Boimler gets thrown off the cliff, and fortunately, he hits the ground as the holodeck program is ended.
Yeah. And Mariner is kind of ecstatic.
Oh my god, therapy works. Guys, therapy works!
Well, that was lucky, because that really shouldn't have, but it was just by some miracle of circumstances that you actually arrived at the right conclusion through the entirely wrong path. But, you know...
Yeah. And all it took was a gross violation of everyone's privacy.
No, because it's fine, because it was a guy called Bob made the program. Nobody actually read the things.
So that she could see a version of herself that was based on her actual actions and conduct.
Yes.
Right? And her actual motivations that follow through.
Based on her personal logs.
Yeah.
Which a guy called Bob then formatted into a holodeck person.
Hate Bob.
Yes.
I don't hate a lot of people, but I hate that Bob exists, and there should be legal consequences for Bob.
I think this planet, by the way, is really cool, because it's got the kind of like these amoeba-like cities on it with these lines sticking out from the sides. At first, I sat there looking at it, like, what am I seeing? What's going on here? It's like, this is a weird starscape, but then I realized, oh, wait, no, it's a planet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all these hub and spoke kind of settlements, which, why are they not like networked more? Maybe they're islands. Hey, maybe that's under the cloud cover.
Yeah, very well possible. Yeah.
And they all have like a central.
It's all France, you know. All roads lead to Paris. You know?
Okay.
It's like wherever you are in France, there's always any traffic sign will always tell like this goes to the local city here. This goes and if you want to go to Paris, go that way.
I just wish I could tell the real Billups how I feel about him.
Why don't you, man? He's right there.
Nah, I wouldn't want to bother him. I mean, look at him. Dude's a stone cold badass.
Just sitting there so sad at a table on his own eating his soup. the sort of heartbreaking injustice here that it would take so little effort to just absolutely make his day.
Yes.
You could have this future together.
Yeah, well, we can't have nice things because if all the good things happen to people, then you get a boring TV series.
That is true.
So, yes.
I like the bar on the Cerritos, by the way. I like I don't know if it's 10 forward or whatever the equivalent is. It's got a nice wraparound bar. It looks like a cool place to hang out for the crew.
As usual, yes. Mariner apologizes to Tendi,
which she appreciates.
Yes. Thank you. We're trying to get away from that. And do you want to go look at the warp core? Let's all go look at the warp core. Yeah, warp core.
And Mariner goes, no, that's really lame. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Bumps into her mother along the way and says very quickly, Hey,
Cap. Sorry about earlier today. I was way out of line. Thanks for looking out. Later, skater.
Leading to her mother sitting in Miglimo's office.
Yes. She's up to something and it can't be no good. She's planning. She's going to subvert me some way or the other.
I have a right to know, because unlike a Mariner, she didn't get to have a therapeutic breakdown.
No. The poor little bonsai gets tipped over this
It's just
point.
a smashing bonsai.
Table flip. Yes.
Carol, you're being a pineapple right now.
Stop referencing foods!
And Boimler goes back to the holodeck to ask one more question, but the program has continued.
Yes, and he learns the secret.
As a mother, it was a privilege to call Mariner my daughter.
Wait, what?
That's right. Mariner was my daughter the whole time.
Really laying it really thick. I don't know what it would have done if anybody found out about that secret. I'm so glad nobody ever did.
Kicked them off the ship, court-martialed them, and Boimler standing there horrified.
So that when he winds up in Freeman's office to apply for, what was it again? The Advanced Placement Diplomacy course or something?
Advanced Diplomacy Workshop.
Where do you see yourself negotiating peace in 5 years? Just take a breath and say the first thing that comes to mind.
Mariner.
Mariner what?
Yep, has himself a little neurotic conniption.
Falls and gets out of the place, and Ensign Boimler didn't prepare for interview. Terrible. Bad form.
Oh, look at all the things that she's got on her shelf, by the way. She's got a big old conch shell. She's got some
Captain's
sort of sword.
Hat, a model, a sextant, a couple of awards, YouTube awards, a pineapple, which is interesting.
Wait, pineapple? Yeah, you're right. That's the international symbol of welcome.
You're being such a pineapple. What?
And a model of a California-class ship, one presumes the Cerritos itself.
Oh, yes.
Which warps away from Itlokana 6, and then the letterboxes appear again.
Yes, because we're back on the holodeck, presumably, in the program. Where the pod opens and Vindicta pops out of the pod in a very, this would be like the opening scenes of Star Trek 3, the movie.
Yeah, mirroring the finale of The Wrath of Khan, where we see
after the Genesis device has done its thing. Yes, but now she gets popped right back in by Da Vinci with a shotgun.
Not today, not on a Da Vinci's watch.
And it's like Mario, and his brother Luigi Mario. As we close off with all the characters signing their names, much like the cast of the original series signing their names at the end of The Undiscovered Country.
Yes.
As they handed over the reins to a new crew.
Yes. Samanthan Rutherford.
Samanthan, yeah. Beckett Mariner.
Diana Tendi.
Devana.
Devana?
Yep.
Oh.
D apostrophe and then Vana.
Right.
I know, it's tricky to read when you... I love all the sort of swirls, how animated the signatures are. And finally, Bradward Boimler.
With a little Star Trek, Starfleet logo on instead of a dotted I.
I love it so much. Oh my God, it's so cute. And... Okay, so your idea early on that, this will probably be a short one because, it's only an animated episode. How do we do on that, do you think?
Yeah, not very well.
Well, let's see who you thought was...
So fucking cool.
Who was your MVP for this episode?
That goes easy. That's an easy one. That goes to the Cerritos' warp effect as they flash off and they go to the little zappy thingy, and with the little trails, which are very reminiscent of the original movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely that effect. That's definitely my so fucking cool moment.
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because, like, some of the movies have introduced just new things to warp that they didn't really have before. You know, a motion picture, as you say.
Because now we have a motion picture budget.
Uh-huh. And the little sort of contrails, and in this case,
Warp trails, I guess. Not
Jacob's
contrails.
Ladder.
Oh, maybe they're like just, whatchamacall them again, chemtrails.
Chemtrails is a different thing.
Yeah, it's warp trails, wharf trails.
Oh, no, I see where you're going. Plasma. I mean, there's Zephram Cochrane invented them. There's Miller Cochrane, so they could be cocktrails.
Oh, God.
Yes. It's a scientific term. No, I don't
I'm
think
sure it is, yeah.
I don't think it needs to be.
Yes, Cocky, let's go with that.
Thank you. Oh, mine is going to be the loving circular shots of the Cerritos.
Yes.
Just the beauty shots and the emotions of everyone, and like the fact that we were denied a 1 hour and 47-minute cut of hit the brakes. I actually meant a different one. The music.
Oh.
James Horner produced one of my favorites, Star Trek soundtracks, and in particular, like those brass flourishes that are in there. They get me every time. I find them so exciting. Got me so excited for like the Star Trek First Contact trailer because it was in there, and I didn't really realize that was the same thing, and
very nice.
Beautifully brought back during these.
So
these
it's not unanimous
scenes.
to the Cerritos, but the music and the Cerritos get the credits this episode.
Hey, we don't go for unanimity for these.
Yeah.
We like to appreciate lots of different things. But I'm very curious about your
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Ooh, I think that would have to be the scene just after Tendi decides to leave the holodeck, and like she's absolutely done with Mariner's bullshit about being stereotypical about Orions.
Orions.
I like Orions better. Oh, and she just goes to goes to her quarters, and she goes to this little mope, and she gets out the family photo album, and she starts going back through it, and she sees her like cousin in graduating university, and going back, and then she flips another part, and it's the same cousin now. He's like working on a pirate outpost, and then it's her father and mother, and like on running a slave camp, and further like it starts off with like all for the last 5 years, all the tradition, them doing all wholesome stuff, and like the further back she goes, the more it goes into the stereotypical things of that Orions are.
And her hot Smith cousin.
Oh right, yeah, that's the one. Yes.
Ooh, what's mine going to be? Mine has probably got to be the court-martial that Boimler absolutely deserves for, like, betraying the Federation to some guy called Bob.
It's dismissed on all charges. It was, like, freely available in the ship's computer, and...
What if... Oh, whoa.
He didn't read them himself. He just fed them into a black box, and a program came out.
What if this is something that happens all the time? What if Boimler isn't actually, like, a real person, but it's just an experiment for the Federation to sort of create its own ideal officer? What would that look like?
Oh, I was going to say more like he's like a white hat attempt to find all the security flaws in the in the procedures and systems.
I think that's kind of it. Like, imagine if someone that is the ideal Starfleet officer, that is exactly what all these regulations want.
Made from pure alcohol.
Made from pure alcohol. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't even need to inhale it. And like every 2 or 3 weeks, he winds up doing something where, we're just going to have to start a new one. And that one gets executed and vaporized.
Oh, gosh.
And they clone a new one.
It's kind of like Moon, except they have a whole rack of Boimlers sacked away somewhere.
Okay, so this is Boimler V2.365 that has these previous indiscretions. Okay, and we'll just keep making a new one until we get it right. Eventually we've got to get it right.
This one's pretty fine. For some reason, it has an obsession with Voyager. We don't know where it comes from. But...
Okay, fine. That seems to be better than some of the other versions that we've done. This is horrible. Because this turns out he hasn't been feeding it into a computer. He is someone called Bob. He is some guy called Bob Bradward Boimler.
He's just an AI algorithm, which headcanon accepted.
Hey, Kay, I've got a new sound effect for you.
Oh, go hit it.
I got a new button here on my little yes. Here we go.
Hit
you
it
ready?
On.
Next time on an all-new episode of Star Trek.
Oh wow, where's that from?
That's from 1987.
Oh.
That's okay. So I had to dig real deep to find this because I was kind of hoping to find
Next Generation then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how the sentence completes. Let me see. I was hoping to find something with Majel Barrett saying it, the voice of the computer. I wasn't able to find that, but this I found this deep within like a 24-minute cut of ads saved from a VHS tape.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but it is very appropriate. So,
right? When mommies and daddies used to watch television, this is the kind of thing that you'd sometimes hear.
Next time on an all-new episode of Star Trek.
Hey, I was 14 in 1987.
Oh, right. No, okay. Well, hey, it lasted for a while. Okay, now let's find out the clues for next week's episode, which our chief engineer has selected from our recommendations.
That's what I mean. Chess is so predictable. I'm surprised anyone bothers to play it.
Judgy?
Q?
Yeah.
Or maybe another...
That actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's T'Pol. It's really mean-spirited, even for how mean-spirited she'd been written early in the Enterprise.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
It's been so long since we had physical form.
Ooh.
We weren't able to distinguish sleep from sedation.
Ooh. Yeah, you might be onto something with the Q.
Well, yeah. Unless it's just Q episode, the one with all the Q. But I don't think so.
Oh, there've been a lot more Q episodes, like on Voyager, with more Q.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All your movies are the same. I can't keep the stories straight.
Okay. This feels like the same person, just negging.
Yes, it does. Unless it's like a group of people who got woken up, like a group of... Because that's what I said, like we haven't had corporal form in such a long time.
Right.
So it sounds like a group of individuals who have been, woken up by an Enterprise or someone else.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, we've got some more.
Keep going.
Someone always dies.
Oh.
Huh. That's Q again, I guess. But yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm starting to get an inkling.
Okay.
Maybe it's Enterprise, but I'm not sure yet. We've got two more.
We're leaving now, Captain. You won't remember a thing about our presence, and in 3 hours, you'll die as well.
Yeah, that's feeling less like Q.
Feels next generationally, but...
Oh, it's possible. It's not immediately ringing a bell. Last clue.
Okay.
Math is just another language.
True, but doesn't bring me any closer to...
Hoshi.
Oh.
That's a Hoshi line.
Right, well, that would put it into, Enterprise.
Enterprise, in which case, I think it's Observer Effect.
Okay. I don't think I'm familiar, but go.
Ooh, you've got something to look forward to.
Bring it on.
Let's find out.
The episode is Enterprise 411 Observer Effect.
Very good.
Thank you.
You got it right in the nick of time.
If you would like to submit your recommendation, please do so at joyoftrek.com/links. You can also find the link to the Patreon there if you want to chip in a little and help us keep the lights on. That would sure be appreciated because, gosh, these bills do keep piling up. Then there's only one more thing left to ask.
The hell is this?
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with friends Kay and Hauke, production and editing by Chief Engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amor. Join us next time for Observer Effect, Enterprise 411. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us your recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.